was a senior director of STEM, you can see all the things that I kind of was doing, but I'm most importantly really feeling excited to be here with other educators thinking about how we can integrate technology like AI in responsible and safe ways, and allowing those in those communities to build tools for themselves. So I'm really excited about that. And I'll pass it on to Ethan.
Hey everyone, I'm Ethan, a little younger than Wyman, so not as much experience, but I'm a volunteer math teacher, research assistant, and learning engineer here at Playlab. And I'm not going to repeat what's on the screen, but I really think AI could be a force for good, and I'm excited to bring it to your guys' community.
Hi everybody, my name's Corey. I'm the cultural technologist here at Indigitize. Originally from San Andreas, Arizona, in the Navajo Nation. I helped create the NSCS curriculum. I also helped develop and launch an AmeriCorps program called SCO-Code within Indigitize. And I studied something called Science, Technology, and Society. And that's just like briefly the other questions, we should be asking when we work on computer science, such as what are you doing? What are you creating? What is it doing for the world? What is it doing for Navajo people, Indigenous people? It's like that critically thinking, like what are you creating part of computer science, and not just like how you code. And yeah, what I think AI could be used for is to produce more Indigenous creators. And something's up with my screen. Yeah, more Indigenous creators, producers, and storytellers. In this way, Indigenous language and culture are able to be present within the evolution of artificial intelligence in a good way. And yeah, I really appreciate the presentation we just saw, because there was a lot to unpack in worldviews. So I hope to sort of figure out what those perspectives and meanings, how can we incorporate the cultural aspects to computer science and artificial intelligence.
Thank you, Corey. My name is Caitlin. I'm the teacher and curriculum specialist at Indigitize. I'm Sichango Lakota, so I'm from the Rosewood Reservation in South Dakota. And Dakota's missing there, but I'm still in South Dakota as well. I taught 8 years at 2 different schools on Pine Ridge and the Rosewood Reservation, teaching computer science and other STEM courses. Built a Lakota CSP curriculum with ACES, or the American Indian Engineering and Science Society. And they have a program called Seeding Innovations. And yeah, I really believe that AI can be used as a way to enhance literacy for educators and for their students, allowing them to make better, more meaningful choices for how they're using it and promoting it within their classrooms. So that's my kind of thinking on it. And with that, I'm gonna pass it back to Corey here too, to share a little bit about Indigitize's approach to AI.
Sorry, everybody, my laptop's like freaking out. I just spilled coffee all over the keyboard. 1 second. Okay, here we go. Yeah, to share a little bit about Indigitize's approach to computer science / artificial intelligence. It's really grounded in our Indigenous identity and how we view things, how we grew up, and those experiences that shaped us and shaped who we are as Indigenous folks, navigating, what path we chose, whether it's academia, whether it's CS, whether it's being a teacher, whether it's being a filmmaker, whether it's being a presenter. As Indigenous folks, we need to, figure all that stuff out in whatever shape and form to ourselves. And yeah, and it's also not an easy, straightforward thing, formulaic thing that, is easy to understand and, unpack. So within the same way, that's how we view computer science. It's like something holistic, something really, it takes a lot of time to figure out. You can go to the next slide. Yeah, just a little bit about Indigitize. I'm just going to read some stuff verbatim real quick because it's a lot to sort of like, process and talk about. I just don't want to mess up the wording. And yeah, it's goals to speak like the fellow we just heard from. He did it super well, all these big ideas. He just, moseyed on right through them. Like, wow, he could talk for weeks about something if he like dove in. But yeah, and with Indigitize, we engage Indigenous youth in computer science education to catalyze positive change within their communities through technology. We provide students access to the skills and knowledge they need to strengthen their communities using CS. And this, I want to mention a little bit about this. So this is derived from the deeper vision, which is equipping Indigenous youth with computer science knowledge and skills to disrupt colonial paradigms in tech and exercise technological sovereignty to catalyze Indigenous communities. So you could, make the connection between like colonial paradigms. That was what the fellow from this morning was talking about. That's an important part in how we utilize technology and like how we utilize artificial intelligence as Indigenous folks. Thinking of the past, present, and now, like thinking of your relatives, thinking of our non-human relatives, disrupting the colonial ways that we see these things. And then technological sovereignty, data sovereignty, something being discussed right now. And, we're still figuring out what that means to the folks involved. And, artificial intelligence is run on data. So how do we protect ourselves, but also how do we produce good things for the community? How do we still live in a good way? So beyond the vision, some core values that we utilize is based in SNBH, which is a Navajo epistemology. SNBH stands for Satna Ra Kehojon. And this is a very hard term to translate. And it's associated with walking in beauty. But it's like, as Navajo people, we want to live to old age. And when we live that long, we want to live in a good way. And we want to, leave the world better than we found it. And Satna Kehojon refers to that cycle. And which, we would want to be walking in beauty during that whole duration. And yeah, with Satna Kehojon, there's a bunch of different values imbued in it as a Navajo person. And this includes kinship, and or kinship in Navajo is like one of the core values that's connected to everything. One thing I took away from this morning's keynote was, in his way, it's like country. And with that, there's a bunch of different connections from all bits and pieces of the universe interwoven together. So, you could make these connections in other Indigenous communities and cultures. And in Diné, we see the world that way too. Everything's sort of a relative in the universe, and we have teachings and stories about it. And we're trying to figure out, okay, how to translate that epistemology to new things. How do we, engage in with artificial intelligence? Do we see, a robot as a relative? These are really good questions that, provokes thinking and like creates wonderings of how, as Indigenous people, do we navigate through these spaces and through these new technologies that, keep transpiring. And furthermore, our approach and values are also community driven, and we place importance on, community driven curriculum, Indigenous culture, holistic well-being, and collaborative co-creation. And the wheel you see right there is the wellness wheel that takes everything that we're able to sort of put on a wheel as an Indigenous person into like your whole holistic well-being, whether it's like, how do you feel about your career? How do you feel about your emotions? How do you feel about what's going on in your community? How do you feel about health? These different things as Indigenous people that we want to, balance out. And it takes us back to like wellness and that Navajo idea of balance, hojon, and how we interpret, what does it mean to be healthy? What does it mean to succeed? So on and so forth. So, yeah, I just want to sort of like bring that perspective and that outlook into what we're doing today. And I want to say that, there's not a right answer to these things. There's only, improving on the last iteration based on new findings, based on new traditions that haven't been connected. And at Indigitize, we hope to sort of foster a space where, we're able to achieve that balance to the degree we're able to do at this time and place. And that goes for AI, that goes for computer science, and we have a bunch of different projects right now that, we're figuring it out along the way. There's a question in the chat. You can find that wellness wheel if you go to nisn.org, and that's the NACA Inspired Schools Network organization. But I could give you that information later. But yeah, just to sort of ground this conversation, there's not like Indigitize. This is Indigitize's formula for AI. It's not like that. It's like, as an Indigenous person, being aware of how we move through these things, how we utilize these tools, being intentional about what we create. So I'll pass it back to Caitlin.
Yeah, thank you, Corey, for sharing a little bit more about your approach to AI and kind of how we ground our work. That was really helpful. And so I wanted to kind of share an exciting, so speaking of projects that we have going on, we have an upcoming PLC, or professional learning community, in collaboration with Playlab. So we do have a link here, and I don't think the link on the apply now button is clickable. So I'm going to share it here in the chat. And then we'll be sharing this again towards the end of this session as well. So this is application to join this PLC. So this cohort of K through 12 educators are going to be committed to, or already committed to, teaching Indigenous students across various disciplines and age groups. So it can be open to K-12. I did see a question too on the Khuu submitted earlier. Somebody was just wondering, is this a tool for a specific age range or group? So we wanted to invite anybody today, and we're going to have a chance here in a bit for you all to think about how you might use Playlab in your own context. So really open to a lot of different age groups. And then second, engaging in critical exploration at the intersection of AI and Indigenous sovereignty, fostering innovation, creativity through community-driven development. So really thinking about your context. And then fourth, strengthening Indigitize's capacity with AI literacy and effective use of Playlab and other AI tools. So those are the goals that you'll commit to and joining us in this cohort. For participants, we're pleased to offer $250 stipend. And also Playlab has a micro-credential that you'll be able to earn as well for participating in this PLC. So dates are on the screen here. So there's going to be 2 sessions in November, so November 6th, November 20th, and those are both Wednesdays. And you'll be learning about how to use Playlab and be able to explore and create your own tool. And then we'll have a showcase in December to showcase your final tool. So application deadline is coming up. I believe it is about 2 weeks from today. So we'll be happy to have a lot of you that are here today join us in this, but we'll also be sharing it with our wider network at Indigitize as well. So with that, again, application is in the chat. And I'm going to pass it over to our friends at Playlab to share a little bit more.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for grounding us, Corey and Caitlin, in everything that Indigitize is already doing. I'm actually not going to spend too much time on what Playlab is, but I'm going to quickly kind of dive us through what we are as Playlab, and then how we think we actually connect with the Indigenous communities and you all. In terms of allowing you to be a safe sandbox to learn, we think the best way to learn about AI is actually to do it yourself. And get hands-on, get into that sandbox, and really be able to build things for your context. I love what Corey was talking about in terms of like community-centered approaches and being holistic in our development, taking into account all of the beauty that comes from all of your culture and all of your organizations writ large, and thinking about how we can leverage that to build tools for you, by you, right? So one of our goals is through this time, and hopefully in the PLC, you're able to build, pilot, and then deploy tools that are built by your communities and then can be shared with your communities to see how we can continue to move the needle in terms of what we're looking for. So Playlab, again, really focuses on teaching folks about AI by creating with it, right? A lot of artificial intelligence right now feels very theoretical, but once you get hands-on into that sandbox, it feels a lot more real, and you can then start interrogating what is possible and also what are potential risks of AI as you're thinking about deploying it into your space. So the thing about Playlab is we're a 501c3 nonprofit looking to empower and democratize who gets to build and shape AI. So right now we have over 21,000 tools that educators like yourselves and around the country and around the world are building for their context. These range from principals in Chicago to my local librarian, Tanya Smith, to journalism professors at the University of Oregon, who are all building tools for their needs. And as we continue to grow, right, we're looking to expand the global community of educators. And these spaces are all people that have built and implemented tools in their space. And what I love about this image is that this might not traditionally be the image of folks that we're thinking about when we're thinking about technology. There's a Venn diagram of AI educators, AI builders, and educators that doesn't always feel like it intersects. Our hope is that the way that we bring Indigenous voices into the AI space is actually by allowing Indigenous educators to build tools for their own context. So I'm really, really excited to be joined with Ethan and all of you as you think about building tools for your context. So after all of that, and we build things, we also want to make sure that it's actually driving towards efficacy, right? We partner at Playlab with university researchers to uncover not just the hype around AI, but actually identify what is working in AI and what do we want to amplify in terms of the impact that it has on teaching and learning and driving just outcomes in general. So what I'd love for you to do is we're going to drop this link in the chat here. These are actually going to be apps in the Indigitize Summit workspace. These are all apps that Indigenous educators or folks who work in Indigenous communities have built to support their kind of context. So I would love for you to spend the next 6 or 7 minutes playing with 1 or 2 tools and just see what people built and play around with some of these tools. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's go ahead and click on that link. When you click on that link, you're going to click accept invite. And you're going to see some of the things that were built, including by Corey and some other folks as well. You're going to click it by clicking the blue launch button to get started. If you have any questions about logging in or having any issues, just please let Ethan or myself know. We'll come back in about 6 minutes at 45. As you're exploring the tools, feel free to try out more than one and think about why might this have been built? What does it do well? What are also some of its limitations as you're building overall? We'll come back in about 4 minutes. All right, we're going to come back in about 10 seconds here, but I'd love to warm call some folks to potentially come off mute or share their thoughts about what they explored and like their initial thoughts or any wonderings you might have. I'll open up the floor. You can also use the chat to share what you tested out and what your initial thoughts are. I'd love to hear from at least one or two folks. Thank you, Madeline, for getting us started in the chat. We'd also love to see some additional things as you're processing. What did you explore and some of your thoughts about them? And if you want to feel super brave and come off mute, we'd love to have you join as well.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. I use the Indigitize curriculum assistant. I've been teaching chemistry for the last few years, so I was interested in how I can use integrate Navajo into chemistry. And it gave me a bunch of different things, but the one I like the most is number 4, which was storytelling and oral tradition. So it said use storytelling to explain scientific concepts, drawing parallels between Navajo oral traditions and scientific narratives. But also another cool one, because I love chemistry, is explore traditional Navajo practices that relate to chemistry, such as traditional dyes or medicines, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, Celine. And hopefully I said your name correctly. What I love about it is all of these tools were actually built by Indigenous folks, right? So it's leveraging the expertise. It doesn't come from Playlab or technology. It actually comes from the actual expert who's lived in those experiences, who brings a wealth of knowledge from this generation and past generations as well. And that's a beautiful thing to see. So thank you for recognizing that as we go. And as we use that to ground our work, feel free to continue to add your thoughts in the chat. I want us to start thinking about if you're able to build something, literally in the next 10 minutes, we'll get started in building. If you were to build something, what would you build? And like, how would it serve your communities, your classrooms, and your folks in general? What would you build? And because Playlab loves a good Mad Lib, we're going to use this Mad Lib template. I'm a child of the 80s and 90s, and I grew up loving Mad Libs, filling in blanks. So this is the Mad Lib I'd love for you to consider. Right? As we're thinking about what we're building, what problem or opportunity do you want to create? Do you want to solve a problem or do you want to create a new opportunity? Who is going to be your end user? Who is this tool going to be for? And like, why is this actually important to solve for? Right? What value add is it going to create as you build this tool? All important things to consider as you think about building your tool. Ethan's going to walk you through pretty soon in how to build a tool in Playlab. But before you get there, it's really, really important that we start thinking about what we would like to build and what we want the user to feel as they're using this tool. So, for example, a Mad Lib statement that was used to develop a writing tool that's one of the most popular writing tools on Playlab. It was designed after Toni Morrison. Adrian, who built this tool, really wanted to design a tool to provide formative feedback in a way that leveraged his community in the South Bronx, where he is a teacher, and he's been a teacher for 21 years. And he wrote this sentence to get him started building his project. And over the course of time, he's iterated on this project many, many times, to the point where this tool has now been used by over 10,000 folks, 10,000 times, and it's really made an impact, not just as a technology tool, but most importantly, in his classroom with his students, where it's pushed their writing moving forward. Really, really exciting. So as we do all of that, I'm going to plug this one more time before I pass it to Ethan. Please go ahead and sign up for your account in Playlab. This is going to give you permanent access to Playlab moving forward, where you're going to be able to continuously be able to build and share tools. So with that, I'm going to pass it off to Ethan and go from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Wyman. I'll wait to share my screen now. Awesome. Let me get started. So I'll wait a few seconds before actually going in, but you guys should see this screen when you make an account. I know some of you guys may be making an account now, and if you'd like to follow along, sure. Or if you just want to watch, feel free. So to create an app, I'm going to go over here to this blue button, New App. And then here's the app name and app description. This is not going to change the way your app operates, but it changes the way people see your app. So let's call it Navajo Language and Culture Learning App. Then the app description, let's just call it the same thing. This app is meant to help students learn the culture and the language. And then we're going to hit create app. And then so from here, now we're in the editor. And this is how you're going to program through natural language your own app. So as you can see here, this is like a Google Doc. You can delete everything. You can add a step 4. Don't be restricted by the fact that it looks a little bit different. And so here, let's just get started. You are an expert in, we're telling the AI, what do we want it to know a lot about? What do we want it to be informed about and teach others about? Let's write Navajo language and culture. And then what is the AI's role? As we saw with the basic chatbot, the AI's role was maybe to translate, to convey information, maybe some contextual translation. And so for the role here, let's put guide students through interactive lessons about Navajo language, traditions, and daily life. And then you are talking to, and then for example, if you're an elementary school students, maybe you put 1st through 5th grade, middle school, or high school. Let's write high school students. And I'll wait a second for everyone to follow along and explain why I did what I just did. So Playlab gives us a great scaffold of how to prompt the AI. Sometimes you use ChatGPT, it may not give you the answers you'd like, or it may hallucinate or give you context that's not relevant. And so that's what we're doing here. We want it to be as relevant as possible to what we're doing. And then the workflow. So this is how the AI is going to communicate with the individual or the user on the other side. ChatGPT is just a plain general assistant. That's not really what we want here. We want something that interacts with the student and helps them learn. So step 1, what do you want the first thing to be? Let's write, welcome the student to the Navajo language and culture app. Ask for their name and what they already know about Navajo culture. And so this is the first step. So I'm going to show you here on the preview what this is going to look like for step 1. So the welcome message, welcome to Navajo language and culture learning app. Are you ready to get started? Let's write yes. And so from here, this is exactly what we prompted it to write. So now with that in mind, let's continue on. So for step 2, introduce the importance of language preservation. Maybe something else is more important to you, or you have a different use case, you would write that in here. And the question we get a lot is, how does the AI know about this? The AI was trained on a lot of training data. And so if you have extra information that you'd like it to know, there's a references tab right here, and we'll go into that in a bit. And then let's write briefly, describe the significance of the Navajo Nation and its rich cultural heritage. And then for step 3, let's say ask which aspect of the Navajo culture they'd like to explore first. And then so from here, a great thing or a great prompt engineering tactic is to add some bullet points. So we could put basic greetings, traditional foods, Navajo creation story, whatever else you may be interested in. So let's look at how the app is performing now. Yes. What is my name? Ethan. I am new to this. Can you help me learn?
Hey, Ethan, can you zoom out just a little bit more
Yeah,
so
sure.
they can see the left-hand side of the...
Can you guys see
Perfect.
now? Awesome. And then so from here, we see that this is a little bit lengthy. So on step 2, we can say, be a little more concise. But let's move on a little bit. On step 3, it says ask which aspect of the Navajo culture they'd like to explore first. So we have that here. Right now, I've just made you guys a really basic app that you may want to share with some students theoretically, or maybe you just wanted to try it out. And then so I'll go over one last thing before we continue. Guidelines and guardrails. These are what Playlab inputs for some anti-bias or anti-discrimination work. If you guys feel as though these AI companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, or whomever else is not really culturally aware of Navajo culture or any other culture, you can explicitly write things in the chat. You could say, be respectful, culturally sensitive, or whatever else you'd like to write. And so now, before we go on and build, I'm just going to go over the rest of the features in Playlab. So references, if you have a document or a lesson plan that you want help with or help contextually translating or adding some more cultural aspects, feel free to upload it here. If you want someone like me or Wyman, a prompt engineer, to help you out and you don't have access to anybody at that moment, the Playlab assistant can help you. And so this will help you rewrite your prompt or add to your prompt. So let's say I need help making my prompt more clear. As we can see here, it's offering us suggestions for our prompt. And then settings. If you want to change the welcome message, which is what we saw right here, you can change that here. And then the app name and app description. And then when you're ready to publish, if you're ready to publish, there are a few options. You can publish it to the workspace, that's just us, the organization, Indigitize organization, Playlab, anyone with a Playlab account, or you can make it public. And then you click this link here, open a new tab, and then this is what your app is going to look like. All right, let's start building. Does anyone else have any questions?
Amazing. Thank you for walking through that. And as you all, we're going to send people into breakout rooms to allow you to build and share your ideas as you're building. But one thing I'll say before we get into building is that it's important that we build, test, and really interrogate the outputs and the inputs before we're like, okay, we're ready for prime time, right? Most of the apps that are being built are really, you're not going to build something amazing in 30 minutes, right? But ideally, you're getting started building something that you can build over time. That's why Indigitize and Playlab are inviting folks to join our PLC moving forward so that you can spend dedicated time to continue to build, improve, and strengthen your apps to a place where, okay, we feel that we're ready to share it with a small group of folks or a small group of students. And if that works, we can continue to expand it to larger and larger communities. So with all of that, we're going to put people into breakout rooms. We'll pop around to help people out. But we'd love to get you started building. The one thing I'll also share, and thank you, Madeline, for bringing this up, is at the end of this, we'll show you all how to create your own private workspaces so that you can test and build responsibly and invite other folks in your community as well to come learn and build with you as well. All right. So with that, I think, Caitlin, we're going to throw folks into some breakout rooms and we'd love to get you started in building. I see some of you are already building, which is great.
Okay, those should be open now.
All right. Happy building. Happy building. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, I'm going to join room 2.
Hello, and then if you are just on joining us, so we just moved into breakout rooms, so I'm going to assign you to one of those rooms. And if you're still in the chat here, and if you are just on joining us, I'm going to put a link to an invite to the Playlab space that we're using right now. So I'm going to click on that, and then it's going to have you accept that invitation. Okay. And then for those of you still in the main session here, let me know if you're having any issues accessing your breakout room. I know you might have stepped away for a minute, but let me know if you come back and are confused on what we just transitioned into. So we just opened up some breakout rooms. So you should see something pop up on the screen that says the breakout room number and have you join that session. It's just a place for you to go ahead and work and collaborate with others as you're building out your Playlab tool. Hello, Michael. Good to have. Can you hear me okay? Oh.
Hi, I'm sorry about that. I joined the breakout room.
Oh, okay. No worries.
Yeah.
popped everyone into a couple of breakout rooms in that session. But yeah, thank you for stopping by. Are you here to join the Playlab session?
Well, I mean, yeah, I'm here. So, about like, yeah, I just got out of another training for microbits. So,
Oh, awesome.
I just wanted to join as soon as I could.
Okay, awesome. Yes. And then we will be moving to, I think it's Amy's like personal Zoom at 12:40. But and then Francisco, he's gonna I think he's gonna do the raffle and then transfer it back to me. And then we'll go through introductions and I'm excited for
Okay.
Cool.
And I'm really sorry about the meeting in September. I did check out the video and try to catch up. And for the confusion too, just in general, yeah, it's been a fast first semester.
I understand that. Yeah, from being a teacher, I just remember like September, October are filled with either like conferences or just teaching in general. It can be hard to transition after summer. So yeah,
Right.
really
Yeah.
happy to join us. Yes. For sure.
And then so I did get this invite from Amazon, but when I seen Indigitize, like I kind of thought you guys were actually at my school at NACA, because I know the founder for NACA has some connections. So yeah, but like I'm really excited about this opportunity, and I'm not sure if I have that much experience to add to it at this point, but I've heard some things, and yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll be really great to just share kind of where you're at and thinking around it, because Jerry Lynn and Joji, they're both teachers too. I think one is kindergarten. They're both kindergarten through 5th grade teachers. They're going to share a little bit about like just how they're using it. But I think that it'll be really helpful with the questions we had there. Just sharing their perspective and expertise as an educator would be really valuable.
Cool. Did they just start the Playlab, or they've been at it for a while, I'm assuming?
We started at, I think it was 11:15. So this session is a little bit longer just because they're doing workshops. So that's what they're doing right now in there. Oh, we got somebody else. Hello. Hello, Alicia. Thank you for joining. I'm gonna put in the chat here a link if you do want to sign up for Playlab. Anybody else too that's still in the waiting room here. And I'll sign you to a breakout room. So in the breakout rooms right now, we're just kind of doing working together to test out Playlab. So Ethan from Playlab did a quick demonstration like how to set up the prompts and set up your own Playlab session. I'm going to put that link here in the chat. So if you want to click on that, and then you'll get added to that workspace. And then if you're just joining and kind of want to test out some of the tools, there's a bunch of different tools that have been created by myself and then Corey, who's also on the call here too, as well as other Indigenous people who have tested out Playlab and created their own kind of AI tool or AI assistant. So if you guys are going to be clicking on that here.
Try it again. Yeah.
Oh, I think that was somebody went off of mute. I just heard somebody say something too.